Unfortunately, not every wrestler has success in the WWE, and over the years, they've tried endlessly to push a specific wrestler, but fans have just simply not cared. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 wrestlers WWE tried so hard to get over, but failed miserably. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos. Number 10. Midian. Following his respective runs as part of the Godwins and Southern Justice, WWE would rechristen Dennis Knight as Midian. On paper, this new persona should have led to Midian's most successful run to date, as he was going to be working closely with The Undertaker in his Ministry of Darkness stable. Midian was supposed to be a deranged soothsayer, but he was without a doubt the weakest member of the Ministry, and fans just couldn't connect to anything he was doing. It didn't help that his in-ring work wasn't exactly exciting, meaning most of his matches, particularly those on pay-per-view events, were met with utter silence. When Midian's time in the Ministry came to an end, they didn't give up hope, as they would change his gimmick once again, and Midian would now become Naked Midian, and this would see him run around the ring in a thong and a fanny pack. This character was humorous for around 2 weeks before fans were totally sick of it, and the character was pulled from all of WWE programming. Number 9. Big Cass. When WWE made the controversial decision to split up Enzo and Cass, fans were extremely concerned about Cass as a single star. He had great presence in the ring thanks to his size, but Enzo was one with a ton of personality, so it was questioned whether fans would be able to resonate with Cass on his own. WWE tried incredibly hard to get Cass over with the audience, as he was thrown around into a feud with Daniel Bryan in 2018. It's no secret that Bryan could have a great match with anyone, and if Cass didn't come out of the feud as a top-tier main eventer, then something had gone badly wrong. Unfortunately, the matches between the two were insanely mediocre, and there was a distinct lack of chemistry. Cass was getting disappointing reactions from the audience, and his run came to a dramatic end when Vince McMahon fired him for going off script in an infamous segment on SmackDown. Number 8. Hien Reich. WWE gave Hien Reich every tool imaginable to succeed. Hien Reich was booked in a feud with the legendary Undertaker, and Taker worked several matches with the young star. However, Hien Reich was unable to get over with the fans. Elements of his presentation were excellent, as the idea of a wrestler needing a straight jacket is certainly unique, but when the bell rang, all the mystique was shattered, as Hien Reich wasn't at the standard fans wanted out of the WWE wrestlers at the time. They would even pair Hien Reich with Paul Heyman, but even this did little to impact how much fans cared about him. WWE tried everything they could do to make Hien Reich a star, yet the more they forced him on fans, the more they outright rejected him. Following the feud with The Undertaker, they would try to have him as a babyface and even pair him with Road Warrior Animal in an utterly bizarre pairing. Whilst this was somewhat entertaining, WWE had clearly seen enough, and by early 2006, Hien Reich was released from the company. Number 7. TOMCO. TOMCO debuted on TV in 2004, and he was given the role of Christian's problem solver. This was a fun gimmick, and it certainly helped Christian get heat, but when Christian was absent and TOMCO had to have a segment or match on his own, it completely fell flat. The crowd had zero connection to him, and this was apparent at the 2004 Unforgiven pay-per-view when he was featured in one of the worst matches of all time as he faced off against Stevie Richards in drag. WWE attempted to push TOMCO up the card several times during his tenure, yet each time the push was cancelled within a few months. The crowd struggled to care about a wrestler who lacked personality or any type of gimmick or character outside the generic bodyguard for hire. Number 6. Lars Sullivan. It was never made clear exactly why Triple H pushed Lars Sullivan so hard in NXT. Sullivan wasn't what the NXT brand was about at the time of his push, and he was simply presented as a monster heel which fans had seen time and time again. Sullivan wasn't awful in the ring, yet compared to other wrestlers on the brand at the time, his in-ring work was falling short. WWE made the call to bring Sullivan to the main roster in 2019, and his push would continue as he would lay out notable legends such as Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle. However, the fans often sat in silence when Sullivan would do anything physical. The idea that WWE fans are going to care about a heel just because they look intimidating may be the case 2 decades ago, but modern day wrestling fans wanted more, much more, and Sullivan was never going to get over with his underwhelming gimmick. Number 5. Nathan Jones. Initial plans called for Nathan Jones to be a key part of WrestleMania 19. WWE were going to run a storyline which saw The Undertaker begin to mentor Jones, and this was going to lead to the two facing off against The Big Show and A-Train on the grandest stage. Jones received a positive response from the crowd at first, but this was clearly because of his association with the dead man, and WWE made the call to pull Jones from WrestleMania as there was strong belief that he wasn't ready for such a high-profile match. When Jones returned in late 2003, they would try to book him as a heel, and he would even have an association with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar. Unfortunately for Jones, the crowd were falling asleep when he would wrestle, and it didn't help that his in-ring work wasn't at the level that it needed to be. It's not controversial to state that Jones was pushed predominantly based on his size, and if WWE attempted to flesh out his character and inject some personality into him, then maybe things would have worked out differently for the Colossus of Boggo Road. Number 4. Kevin Thorn. Kevin Fertig was cursed with 2 gimmicks during his time in WWE that failed to get him over. His first gimmick was known as Mordecai, and this was supposed to be the anti-Undertaker. Visually it was impressive, and WWE put noticeable effort into making the gimmick stand out. The issue was that the crowd just couldn't care less. It took just a few months for the gimmick to fall apart, and WWE would go back to the drawing board. In 2006, the artist formerly known as Mordecai would now become Kevin Thorn. Thorn was a vampire character for the revamped ECW, and yet again the crowd failed to react as if Thorn was anything special. One of the major factors in why both Mordecai and the Thorn characters flopped was the quality of the in-ring work. When the bell rang, the aura of both characters completely collapsed. The gimmick may have potentially worked and may have had the ability to get over, that's if they were delivered by someone who was able to deliver the full package. Number 3. Mason Ryan. From the moment Mason Ryan arrived on TV, he was instantly compared to the legendary Batista. Ryan looked like a carbon copy of the animal, and it was obvious that WWE were going to attempt to replicate the prior formula that they had used to get Batista over during the Ruthless Aggression era. Outside of looking like Batista, Ryan had nothing that made him an attraction. His gimmick was incredibly generic, and even his association with CM Punk was doing nothing to build a connection with him and the fanbase. WWE did the smart thing by sending Ryan to NXT, yet even here he was still struggling to build a rapport with the fans. Although he ultimately failed to get over both on the main roster and NXT, it was obvious that Ryan was working hard to improve his craft and had a love and passion for the squared circle. Number 2. David Otunga. One of the members of the Nexus stable that WWE wanted to push so hard was David Otunga. Otunga had a decent look, and he was relatively known outside of WWE due to his marriage to singer Jennifer Hudson. Otunga was always presented as the number 2 guy in the Nexus faction behind Wade Barrett, and he even won the tag titles with John Cena. But when the Nexus disbanded, WWE gave Otunga a gimmick where he would act as a legal counsel for the present authority figure, and this gave Otunga a ton of chances to get over with the audience. Unfortunately, Otunga had go-away heat as opposed to genuine heat, as the crowd felt nothing when he'd be involved in a segmental match. Upon his character and in-ring work failing to light the world on fire, he would be relegated to the role of commentator. Similarly to his days as in-ring talent, Otunga received extensive criticism for his performance in the role, and fans firmly believed that Otunga simply wasn't cut out to deliver commentary on the main roster. And number 1. Jack Swagger. WWE were just adamant on making Jack Swagger a big deal in the company. When he first arrived on the ECW brand, he was presented as one of the future stars of the company, and he quickly won the ECW title. Swagger was a great in-ring talent, yet his character was rather underwhelming during this time, and it was as if the crowd didn't know what to make of him. Fast forward to 2010, and WWE, in a bold move, would award Swagger with the Money in the Bank briefcase, and Swagger would then subsequently cash in on Chris Jericho to become world champion. WWE had a tough time in making Swagger seem credible, and the crowd wasn't reacting as if this was someone who was world champion, and this was one of the main reasons why his reign was a colossal failure. Logic would assume that if Swagger wasn't getting over on the main roster, then WWE would move him down the card. Yet in 2013, he challenged Alberto Del Rio for the world title at WrestleMania 29. This match was met with a lukewarm response from the crowd, and there was no way that Swagger should have been in such a prominent position on the WrestleMania card. The closest Swagger got to being truly over with the crowd was when he turned babyface in 2014. For a few weeks, he was receiving decent reactions, but that was until the fans became bored of his generic babyface act, and they swiftly went back to not caring about his storylines. But there you have it, folks. 10 wrestlers WWE tried so hard to get over, but failed miserably. What do you guys think of the list? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.